Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Talking from the Cheap Seats. Oh, episode 4. Wow, it's too many head hits back in the day. Episode 4 of Talking from the Cheap Seats. I'm Rumble,
I'm the Gazoo.
and we can talk sports better than you. So tonight, we kind of left the New England Revolution last week and sort of being the stepchild, never noticed, never fed any dinner, and then just one day coming and kicking his parents right in the old Coleones. So I think this week it'd be cool if we spend a good 5 to 10 minutes on the New England Revolution, and we pick it off from a topic that quite possibly the Gazoo has done a lot of research. As you can tell, the antennae were going, and he found out some information about what could have been or what possibly could be the brand new downtown Boston, maybe soccer stadium and or the second coming of a Boston Garden. Without any further talking about it, I'm going to give the floor to the Gazoo.
Thank you, Jason. It is currently May 25th, 2022, at the time of this recording. So here is the information that I can share with you. So there was talk of building potentially between an 18,000 up to an possible 25 to 30,000 seat stadium. The 18,000 seat stadium would have been an indoor stadium. The 30,000 seat stadium would have been potentially a stadium with some type of retractable roof. What I have learned is one of the big things holding it up is obviously we're talking about Everett, Massachusetts. And where Encore is now, they do have I believe it's a 1,500 or 1,800 seat small venue. There's a few issues. One, land property. To put a venue of that size, they require a certain amount of parking. Where Encore is now, they do not have the ability on the same side to build it. On the other side of the street, there is still housing that they're trying to buy up property. One of the other issues that they hold, though, is you have the power plant there, as well as owners that will not sell their property. One in particular, I'm sure you remember him. We've been there before, Mike's Roast Beef. Mike's Roast Beef will not sell his property. The Honda dealership that is there on the same side as Encore, which recently sold, prior to it selling, the owner, from what I've heard, pretty much told Encore to shove it up their ass. They weren't going to sell. With that said, there is still something of I would say, a pipe dream that there may be something done. If something is done, I think it's more towards a chance that the Boston Celtics would play there versus seeing a 20 to 30,000 seat stadium. You don't find many indoor soccer stadiums. Just to rehash a little history, at one time, there was talk of building a 25 to 30,000 seat stadium in South Boston, Southie, as we talked about, potentially at Assembly Row, because Fenway Park, when they were talking about building a new Fenway Park, we can talk about when we get into the Red Sox, but that actually was a location as well as potentially a new ballpark. Ultimately,
I'll talk about what I had heard, because I not only heard things about that potential, I seen drawings.
Yeah, me too. Because
and sketches.
Brother-in-law Corey was on the committee that was working with it, and he showed us the drawings of what they had.
We'll get back to that. Let's give the Revolution their
with that said, I do not think you're going to see the Revolution moved in any time soon. The only way I envision them moving is if a stadium is built by Robert Kraft to move north. The other thing I did a little talk into is, we're not talking, I'm sorry, other stuff I looked into in this past week is potential of Robert Kraft wanting to build the stadium. I don't see it happening because when Robert Kraft kind of kiboshed, or it did not happen in Southie, where it was the main idea was going to be South Boston, that's where they really were pushing hard for the stadium. It coincides when Robert Kraft began really building the CBS Sports, his whole Patriot Place thing.
Yeah.
So with that said, common sense would say, why would you take business away from your businesses down there for a Revolution game when you just tell the people just drive down there and go to the business down there? Because up here, it would just be a stadium. There'd be no other business.
Yeah.
Robert Kraft owns the concessions down there. I don't see the Revolution leaving Foxborough. The only thing that could happen is he builds another stadium besides Gillette.
That's been the talk. To tell you the truth, that's been 100% the talk all along. That's basically what Kraft had said to Bruce Arenas, that they were just going to make the room in the stadium, if by hook or by crook, if they couldn't get a downtown site, which would be honestly a great goal. But
it would be great. It would be the best thing for soccer in this state, because you can do so much with it, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So even if they did put a 20,000 to 30,000 seat venue, if they did make, like, say, the championship, and they were going to sell over 30,000 seats, the other stadium's right there. You move into the big house, and you still got the escalation. So I think it would be a win-win situation. I believe soccer itself, and like I think and I see with my own two eyes that soccer, to you and I, the over 40 people, that it was just coming along during our youth sports.
Yeah,
I know in Malden,
I know didn't want to play.
I know in Malden, like, what made a difference is that soccer was the same time as Pop Warner football.
Yeah,
and
soccer was the same exact time,
and they were fighting an uphill battle, especially knowing that for a kid like me, I come from an Italian family such as yourself. My grandmother's off the boat. My grandmother's boyfriend, Nino, was off the boat. He was a soccer player in Italy. He used to love kicking the ball around with me and taught me things. I always had a glimmer that, wow, one day this would be cool to play some soccer. And then all of a sudden, Malden youth soccer came along. And I was so conflicted. I was like, I'd already had 3 years of Pop Warner football under my belt.
Yep.
And I was like, do I really want to miss this to play a sport that realistically I had never played in my life? And was I going to have fun? And at the time, soccer for a guy was
it wasn't popular.
Wasn't a manly sport, if kids had found out in school.
It's funny though, because when you got to high school though, it was. I mean, it was.
Oh yeah.
I mean, growing up in Medford, we always had state championship caliber teams. When I was in high school, we had a phenomenal.
Same with Malden. I found it funny that I really never knew that Malden High had a really good soccer, and I never knew.
Never paid attention. That was the thing.
There you go. Never paid attention to it.
It was all about football, hockey, baseball. Hell, when we were in high school, when I know what you're a few years older than me, but when I was in high school, lacrosse wasn't a big sport either. Now, lacrosse is almost as big, if not bigger, than baseball.
Yep.
And we're losing.
Malden High School has lacrosse now, which I thought
even in youth sports, more kids want to play lacrosse than they do other sports. It's huge.
Really?
It is, Jay. It is huge, huge. Girl and boys lacrosse. It's friggin' huge, man. And I say huge, I mean huge, like that.
Oh wow,
huge. It's huge, man. I'm telling you, it's becoming the new spring sport for youth sport.
Wow, so that must be killing the baseball programs.
Baseball, and the same thing like girls. Remember when we were kids, girls would play baseball if they wanted to play. They didn't have softball. Now they
Yep.
have full blown city travel leagues for girls softball.
My
Baseball, I
daughter
hate to
plays
say it,
in.
baseball is no longer America's pastime
Yeah.
sport. It's just not America's pastime sport.
So I'll get back to the soccer thing. This is the way I know soccer's taken over. Premier League and all them big leagues now. NBC carries all that stuff and makes a big deal out of it on Saturdays and Sundays.
It is.
Same with Fox. And all these young dudes, because of where I work, like they'd be like, Mr. Rumble, did you hear about such and such? Did you watch that? You're like, and I'm like, guys, I really don't follow soccer like that. And they're
So
like,
let me
really, the
tell you.
best game.
Let me tell you. If you're gonna watch soccer, if you're not a fan of soccer, and you want to watch a game, ideally, probably the games you would like would be Premier League.
Yeah, I've watched it.
Premier League is there's a few different leagues that you got your European leagues.
Yeah.
The European game is very flashy. That's where you see like if a guy goes like this, the guy jumps on the ground and flops like you just shot him.
Yes,
right?
sir.
then you have your South American leagues that they're fast, they're almost kind of brash in the way they play. And then you have your Premier League, which is usually it's Premier League is the American Canadian version of hockey, whereas European hockey is very finesse, Russian hockey is borderline dirty, and then you have that in-your-face, smash 'em, grind 'em with talent and skill American/Canadian hockey. That's what I think Premier League is. I mean, look, there's the two greatest players in the world today are Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, and I know where they play.
And Lionel Messi's phenomenal, but Ronaldo plays. And the thing is you got more Americans now getting involved into the Premier League because we're seeing it. You're seeing American owners of these teams. The one thing that the United States needs is two things. Number one, first and foremost, their U.S. men's national team needs to do something in the World Cup. The women have always done it, and women's soccer is huge. It's amazing. Yes. It's great. It's probably the top sport in the United States for women athletes.
Yeah.
But U.S. men's national.
I'd have to believe that basketball is a close second.
Yeah, I agree. It's basketball tied probably with lacrosse at a college level, and then I would say, but at a professional level, basketball gets more airtime because there's the women's the WNBA, but there are probably more chances for women to play overseas if they're that good. But the second thing we need is the United States needs a superstar soccer player to come and play here in his prime. We had it with David Beckham, but it was way after his prime.
Yes.
If Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, or Messi, or one of these other top-notch players said, I'm going to go play in the United States, it could open a lot of doors, especially to get MLS off the ground, because the MLS it's looked at as a minor league.
No, but I believe, and this is my own opinion, I do follow MLS soccer to an extent. Like, I know that every year their all-star team is getting closer to battling with the real good teams in like the overseas league. Like, they beat the Mexican teams and stuff like that, and like you wander and stuff like that, the MLS all-stars. But like, I think I agree, and plus you need a homegrown talent that can dominate everywhere.
Well, that's the other thing too. I would say that's probably the third thing is a true top star in the game that is born an American. We have a lot of great players that play in the Premier League.
Yeah,
but we need that Cristiano Ronaldo level type of
I
player
agree.
who can say, I'm an American. I played in America and I learned to play the game in America. But that's, again, because for them, they know that the money isn't here. The money is in Europe and the money is
Yep.
that's the thing. The MLS would need to grow substantially in popularity and money in order to attract that type of player.
So I'm going to go over a quick couple things and we'll wrap it up about the Revolution. So some of their player stats. Adam Buska leads the team with 7 goals. My favorite Revolution player, Carlos Gil, has 3 assists on the year. Clearances. I love their statistic. Clearances. Andrew Farrell, 77 clears.
Yep.
Then we have interceptions like he's a defensive back. Matt Polster has 6.
Yep.
Carlos Heel again. Chances created, 35. Again, we hear him again in the top over here. Dribbles completed, 18. Man, I never knew. I'd be honest. Some of these stats are like, what the, I feel bad for the statistician in a soccer game. Clean sheets. Clean sheets are always good. Earl Edward Jr., he has 3 of them. So if that's a hard thing to do, that's pretty impressive. I don't know what a clean sheet is, other than being on a bed. Goals allowed. Goalie Matt Turner has 6 goals allowed.
How many games?
I'll get to their record in 1 second. This Fox Sports News is kind of messed up. I'll get to the standings in a second. So their goals, they're tied for 6th overall with 21. Goals conceded, 726. Shots on goal, 64. Pass completions, 4,486. Interceptions, they're tied for 26th overall with 34. Free kicks, they have 144. Saves, they're tied for 15th overall with 34 saves and tied for 23rd overall with 2 clean sheets. Hey, they better get some more linens. That's only left clean sheets in the cupboard. So, and their stats for the year right now, sitting on top of the Eastern Conference with 13 games played with a record of 6-1 would be the Philadelphia. The Philadelphia team is on top. They have goals for is 18, goals against 9, and they have a point per game of 1.85. Points, they have total points 24 out of 13 games played.
Similar to hockey, Jay, and very similar to hockey. If you win, you get 2 points. If you tie, you get a point. They have the same system, similar. If you tie, you get something, and they also work, I believe, on goal differential as a tiebreaker. Yep.
So our Revolution in the Eastern Conference right now, when they won the big cup last year with all they set a record for points.
They won the They won the President's Trophy. They did not win the cup.
They did not win the cup. Yes, they fell short, but also they almost didn't play for a whole month, which was
I agree. I was going to say
24 games. 24 days in between games, man. And then to go out and play in the middle of basically December, your body isn't conditioned.
No, it's not. I agree. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. Another team had to do it. Another team won.
So right now, I'll tell you this: our numbers ain't too bad. With a 9th place team, we have 12 games that we've played. We're a 1.25, and we have a combined record of 4-3-5.
5 ties, 5 ties. That's not bad.
Yep. When I look at that, that 9th seed is very deceiving. Because let's face it, did they get the ties upon coming back and making sure it wasn't a loss? What, like I'm probably going to read further into this just for my own knowledge, or will they theoretically be ahead and then let this shit occur? I would
Right.
like inquiring minds want to know. But anyways, we're sitting ninth, and the last place team in the Eastern Conference is Chicago, and
Okay.
they are 2-5-6.
And they'll
Leading
be
the West
a
is,
very long season for them.
yes. LAFC's on top over there. They're 8-2-3. The club in its third year.
Yep.
So, well, that is, I believe, a significant amount of time spent on the New England soccer scene. And
Well,
let's,
let's jump into a team that owns whose ownership owns one of those Premier League teams. Let's jump into the Red Sox.
yeah, man, I love it. So the Red Sox right now, as it
Games,
stands,
two
they are
games under 500.
one game under 500 right
No,
now.
I thought it was two. Thought their
Well,
record is 20-22 right now. They
I
beat
thought
Chicago last
I
night.
thought they were 20
20.
and 21, but
No, 20-22.
so I'll punch it up just for the shits and giggles. Okay, Red Sox 2022 stats, and bang. Here we go. Yep, 20 and 22. You're absolutely right. Fourth place in the AL East. And yeah, their
So what are they
team.
sitting 9.5 back, 8.5 back from the Yankees?
Yeah, yeah,
So rather than talking about the Red Sox, which, I think, you said enough last week. I mean, I think the Red Sox need 2 more weeks to see where they're going to be. I'd rather, I want to talk about baseball, but I'd want to talk about something that's kind of prevalent which could affect the Red Sox. So this week, I'd like to talk about the Josh Donaldson issue with the New York Yankees.
let's do it,
Um,
man.
because, it could have a serious effect on that team, the chemistry of that team. Let's be honest. You and I both know, and I'll agree. Every year for the last 5-6 years, the Toronto Blue Jays came out like bats on fire, and then they fucking fizzle.
Yep.
Tampa Bay's been strong the last couple of years, but again, it's with no superstars really. The Yankees, same thing. They kind of come on strong, then they fizzle. They come on strong again. Usually the Red Sox, for the most part, start slow, come on strong, stay strong. At least under Alex Cora. But the Yankees have come on strong, started out strong. Here's my question though: this Josh Donaldson issue, where he called, I forget the player's name. He calls him Jackie as a snub to call because the kid said he needs to be the next Jackie Robinson and change the game. I forget who it was.
Yeah, Tim Anderson, I believe his
Anderson.
name is.
Do you think that because Donaldson's issue ultimately is he doesn't give a shit what he said. He's not taking ownership of it. Aaron Judge has already said it's kind of disrespectful and it's not right. But Donaldson doesn't seem to really give a shit. Do you think that will destroy the chemistry or be a cog in the wheel of the chemistry destruction of New York Yankees? Because yes, they have started out strong, but now this is coming to light. Yankees are we're on a 5-game losing streak or a 4-game losing streak, something like that. They lost to Baltimore the other night.
So all right, I'm gonna just put it to you this way. Now that I know the whole story, 5 years ago we wouldn't be talking about this. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we wouldn't be talking about this. Ribbing is a thing of the past.
You're right.
Because let me tell you something. That's like a white dude coming out and saying, I need to be the next Babe Ruth. And you don't think that people would have give him that said play of shit? But you know why it would be?
Yeah.
Do you know why it would be blown over? Because what black guy is going to say they're going to be Babe Ruth? So it would be just a white guy. And the white guy, if he came out and said, "Oh man, I did say I was going to be the next Babe Ruth, but everybody's teasing me." If I sound like I'm not trying to sound like I'm a racist.
And
but
listen, I can account you're not a racist.
I'm just saying, it's just ball breaking, dude. You're gonna come out and say you got to be the next Jackie Robinson, and because the white dude said, "Come on, Jackie," he's an asshole now. I'm sorry.
Now
dude.
he's got people jumping to his defense. Now he's got people, his own teammates, like an Aaron Judge, saying it wasn't right, it was wrong, or it's disrespectful. And I don't want to. The topic is, I guess it's going to be part of the topic because it's there, it's in our face. But like you said, if a white guy came out and said, "I'm the next I have to be the next Joe D," right?
Yep.
And a black guy goes, and let's say the guy's name was Chris, okay? And he goes up and in the all right, Joe, come on, Joe D, let's go, Joe D. Nobody would even consider it racist.
Yes.
But because a white guy did it to a black guy and called him Jackie, and he's done it a couple times.
It's been going on since I read a thing today. It's been going on since 2019.
Yeah, it's been a couple years. And now it's racist. I guess at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, that's the world we live in now. I'm kind of, I could give a shit less. It's the Yankees, and it's like I could give a shit less. But it does make it for an interesting topic. But at the end of the day, will it deter the Yankees locker room, and will it cause enough drama to fuck up the chemistry of that team?
I think if the chemistry is going to get messed up just because of a comment like that, then the chemistry of the mental stability of each and every one of them athletes on the team has to be checked.
All right.
I think in order to be a winner, you need to do what you need to do to win. That's just me,
Yeah.
I just think it's this world we live in now, where like it.
You can't rib anymore. You can't joke. You can't rib. You can. You can, providing there are certain parameters. I don't want to get into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to you almost have to define why you're saying the joke. So this is why I'm going to say this. Yeah. And hi, blah, blah, blah. And you got to, and it's like, okay. I would hate to be a comedian in today's world. That would absolutely suck.
I respect David Chappelle even more because he continues his spiel. He doesn't give a shit. So
that's right.
All right. Quickly on the Red Sox. Something came up the last 2 days, especially I heard it in the radio yesterday and heard it today. Somebody who's reported that they're close to Xander Bogaerts said Bogaerts will not be back next year. That was someone, so what I'm looking for, countered that, saying that they knew something that was on the radio today, it was on 98.5, the Sports Hub, that they knew somebody who was close to Xander and said he would be back next year. That Xander is going to be a Red Sox next year. Either way, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of, swirling around Xander Bogaerts. I know we talked about it last week and the week before, and I stand by it. If the Red Sox do not sign him, they're idiots.
Okay.
I would sign the kid.
I'm not going to say that I stand behind that very correctively, but in a way I do feel that way. But at the same time, who do I spend $300 million on? Devers, who each year improves with his glove. He hit a fucking rocket last night.
Who's the
His
better hitter,
bat,
though?
I'd be honest with you. I think at 24 years old, Devers right now is at an upside. The only thing that hinders me away from Bogey, and like I said, he's our Jeter. He tends to break down towards the end of the year, and he'll be hitting 340 the whole year, and then comes the end of the year, he got a 278, 282 average. He knocks in 25 to 30 home runs. He gets himself close to 100, if not 100 RBIs. Who would argue with them stats? You'd be a fool to argue with them. But
Right.
Rafael Devers, 24 years old right now. The home run pace, his RBI pace, and the way he hits right now is, if you were to tell me as a team owner I can only sign one of these two guys, and basically this is what you're coming up to. You're coming up to, do I sign Mookie Betts or do I sign Xander Bogaerts? Basically, it showed you. They went with Bogaerts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I believe it's the same situation right now. Who do you sign at 30 years old compared to 24 years old and give $300 million to, knowing that right now you have the top 5 farm system in the league? You quite possibly have the next Chipper Jones coming up at shortstop in their number 1 overall prospect, who was their number 1 overall draft, that's not projected to come up till 2022, 2023. And if you just set things aside, what if Trevor Story hits 275, 25 home runs, 95 RBIs? Xander Bogaerts finishes the year at, say, 292, 22 home runs, 110 RBIs. It's not much. If you really think about it, Capelli, there's really not a drop-off. But what if Devers again hits high 30s in the homers, hits 126 RBIs, and bats you 305?
Well, hold
Who
on a
you giving?
second. Now, hold on a
Who
second. I
it
just want to point
with?
something out, though.
I know. Just let me finish. Who you giving a 6-year deal to? The guy that just hit 302 with 37 home runs and 126 RBIs. That's basically just turning 20. Is going to basically just turn 25. Or are you giving that same deal to a guy that, yes, he is your backbone, yes, he is your Derek Jeter, but are you giving him that same 6-year deal for $300 million when you just signed a guy for
You don't need to give him
$142
$300
million? Yeah,
It doesn't have to be a
I'm
$300
just,
million deal.
I understand that, but
Here's the one thing I want to say to you, right?
when you listen to, hold on, it could, if you sign him to 4 years plus 2 options, it's going to reach right around $300 million.
All right, so hear me out on something. For one, it's definitely not 300. 300 million is fucking astronomical. I think you know. I don't think Bogaerts is a $300 million player deal.
No, I don't either.
But I will say this: if you took all the if you have Trevor Story, right?
Yep.
The Red Sox absolutely can afford it.
I never said they couldn't.
No, hear me. So they signed Devers, they signed Bogaerts. You now have an infield averaging almost your three most important infielders averaging
150 home runs. Especially if Tristan Cassis comes up and adds to that.
Totaling over 300 RBIs, totaling based off those numbers.
Yeah.
About 100 home runs in averaging over 300 in the batting average.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this because I know we're
man.
constrained. We still have other teams we got to get to. There's a reason why the New York Yankees dominated in the late 90s and early 2000s, and even through the mid 2000s, the early mid 2000s, is because they were willing to spend the money on the players that needed to be spent on. They had them there while they were good. They had the Gary Sheffields. but they had Jeter. Back in the day, they had Tino Martinez.
They had the two Japanese guys that they spent a
right?
crap load of money
And
on.
they spent the money on, and and they maintained those guys, and there's a reason for it. And they spent the money. I don't want to hear the Red Sox cry poor when they're the most expensive ticket in the all of major league sports, not baseball, sports. The 4 major sports are the most expensive ticket. It's ridiculous.
I agree 110% with you.
And they own the concessions.
I agree.
It's ridiculous. So that's how
I agree. So what if just say hypothetically they get 3 incredible prospects from the Cardinals, plus they get a starter, whether one of their starting pitches, or they get one of their best field position players for Bogarts, along with getting 3 of their 3 top prospects in their farm system. And I believe St. Louis has like a top 10 farm system right now. And then what if they were to tell you that next year we're going out and not only signing Devers, but we're going to sign whoever the free agent is, we're signing the top flight pitcher, brand new number 1 guy, and then they would bring in a top flight certified bona fide corner outfielder. Would that, as a fan, would you be suffice with that?
I'm going to put it to you this way, and I'm going to leave it with this. That's a huge, huge, huge shoulda, coulda, woulda. Here's the thing. Prospects. How many prospects have always? This guy's the best. This guy.
Red Sox have been lucky, though. Red Sox have been lucky.
Let me finish. How many prospects have we heard? This is the next Derek Jeter. This is the next Pedro. This is the next this. This is the next guy. This is the next fucking Jackie Robinson. This is the next fucking Joe DiMaggio, and they don't pan out. And because it is a different game than the majors. And you know what? I'd rather have the guy that's already established, who's already made a name for himself, who already has a championship under his belt and understands what it takes to win a championship. That's what the Gazoo says.
Well,
all right.
I'll just say this. And I have a feeling that the Red Sox are going to justify that they're going to sign 1 out of the 2. If they're able to sign the 2, I'll be happy, Gazoo. Okay, and I'll leave it at that.
That's fair. All right. All right. So I'm going to provide a very brief 2-minute update on the Boston Bruins. Watch a great video of Jeremy Swayman robbing David Pastrnak, who was set up by David Krejci in the World League playing in. Now, there is talk. The Boston Bruins will potentially be negotiating with David Pastrnak on an 8-year max deal.
8 years?
It's an 8-year max deal, yes.
Oh, Pastrnak. I thought you were talking David Krejci for a second. No, I was like, bro, he's like 110.
Nope. So that's that. The bat signal that I reported was more smoke than fire about the David Krejci, but word does have it they will reach out to him. There are 3 centers that are going to be on the free agent market. One of which definitively will not be coming to Boston. That's in Claude Giroux. But there's 2 other centers the Bruins may look at. The one I'd like them to look at, and then the one I want them to stay away from. The one I want them to stay from is Evgeny Malkin from the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
If they are going to look at a number 2, a 1 or a 2 center, Vincent Trocheck from Carolina Hurricanes is also going to be a free agent, potentially going to hit the market if Carolina doesn't sign him. Okay. I'm going to leave it at that. Nothing on the Bergeron front.
What are the chances of a team like Pittsburgh letting a Malkin go, who's been such a
They have
staple
no
in the
choice.
pit? Really?
They're. Remember, I told you last week, the NHL is one of the true sports that the salary cap means something, with the exception of the Nikita Kucherov long-term IR designation loophole that they had a couple years, 2 years ago, that worked in their favor. The NHL really does have is a true cap, and you cannot be over the cap for unless you have a legitimate injured player. Um, Pittsburgh is in cap trouble. They have like zero, almost next to no money, and they're going to have to make some tough decisions. So, and they're not letting Sid the Kid go. So,
Yeah, I would never see that.
no.
All right. Well, that was a great Bruins minute. Let's jump on into.
You want to go to the Patriots, and then we can jump to the Celtics, since the Celtics
That
are
would
over
be
right now.
awesome. Patriots just, I believe, are in minicamp right now.
Minicamp. Mac Jones looking. They're saying Mac Jones is the best shape of his life. He does look. I mean, he looks definitely slimmed down. Still a lot of talk swirling around about the lack of a coordinator, and that the fact that Joe Judge, Matt Patricia are and now I'm hearing Bill Belichick will be calling offensive plays.
Yeah, that's what I heard that on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Yep. And by the
Listen,
way, Gino Cappelletti passed away.
yeah, sad
so,
news.
Yeah.
Can I tell you what I heard here is Matt Patricia will be the passing coordinator. I'm sorry, Joe Judge will be the passing coordinator. Patricia will be the run coordinator. And what they're saying, ultimately, by the time the season starts, Matt Patricia will probably be the guy calling the overall plays for the offensive thing. The reason why Belichick was over with them was just getting everybody used to the situation. And I'm a Patriots fan. I'm willing to let it see. I want to see how it goes. Do I think having two coordinators is whack? Yes. Do I think that someone ultimately has to be in charge? Yes. But imagine if Bill does call the plays for the offense and calls the plays for the defense.
I just
At nearly 70 years old.
The last time that happened, that this situation kind of happened, was to a coach by the name of Andy Reid in Philadelphia, and it blew up in his face.
Yes, it did. But also, Andy Reid in Kansas City for 4 years had their offensive coordinator now, who's Eric Bieniemy, along with another assistant, not the Eugene Chung that was the former lineman for the Patriots.
Yeah.
But those two guys essentially did the same thing that Belichick has going. One coordinated pass, one coordinated D. Those guys put together a spray chart and would hand the chart to Andy Reid. And Eugene Chung ended up getting signed and being an offensive coordinator someplace else. But they say that could be the formula right now that Belichick is looking for, that quite possibly you might see by the time the season begins that Joe Judge is realistically just a quarterback coach that's just there for Mac Jones, and Matt Patricia ultimately gets more of the responsibility of the offensive load thrown his way. And what people don't realize is Matt Patricia is one of his first jobs for Bill Parcells. He was part of the offensive line.
No, he was a wide receivers coach or the
wide receivers. He did the line, and he helped game day coordinate with Bill O'Brien.
Well,
so
I don't know.
Listen.
I think that works if you have a seasoned quarterback. I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to work with a young kid who's growing.
Who's
But
growing? I
we'll
get
see.
you. I'm willing. Hey, willing to see where it goes. I'm not going to give up and be like James Forbes already and give up on the season before watching it play. Kind of like the guys who didn't understand what baseball's a hard game to play. Baseball's also 160 games plus. That it don't matter theoretically what you do the first 3 to 4 months of the season. You basically have to stay 500, and if you're any more than 5 games under 500, yeah, and it's All-Star break, yeah, you really got something to make up. And I just baseball is such a hard sport to a certain extent that people don't realize. Sometimes the harder you are at the beginning of the season, you fizzle out come the end. And I like the way the Red Sox have basically over the past, say, over their winning, have started off basically mediocre, and come July, they put it in a totally different gear and amaze you with what they do.
Well,
It's just, and I just myself I think a lot of these guys, and not just Red Sox guys, they didn't really think the strike was going to end as soon as it was. I mean, even the baseball
talking
fan.
football here, brother. Talking Patriots. Red Sox, the Red Sox had their time. We're on Patriots now. But I get what you're saying. But the point is
that
I think part of the
we need to let. I'm just saying that's what I'm comparing it to. Is everybody gave up so quick on the Sox? The Patriots haven't played a freaking down yet. A freaking down. We don't know how it's gonna go. We're being way like. All I know is if they shit the bed, get rid of Belichick. That's what I'll agree on. But right now, I cannot shovel dirt on something that theoretically is not performed. And then minicamp. How telltaling is minicamp for real?
It's not telltaling.
Exactly. So once they lace up the pads and do it for real at the end of July and getting into real camp form, and I see the first couple of preseason games, then I'll be like, or the first week that they're in camp, and Zolak and Beetle, their program comes live from Patriots camp. They have eyes on it all day. I listen to that. So until legitimately they get legit eyes on legit situations to a certain extent, I don't want to be that one yet. But I do have those, oh my God, like you guys do to a certain extent.
Are the Patriots done making moves? Quick question. Do you think the Patriots will make a splash somewhere?
I believe that they will. I sort of think they won't make a splash, but I think they're going to bring in like 2 veteran corners that Bill Belichick can find a way to get maximum use so that his certain defense works.
Julio Jones is I believe, still available. I know he was linked, I believe, to he was linked to somebody. Don't know who.
I believe he was linked with going back to reunite with Matt
Ryan. That's right.
With Matt Ryan in Indianapolis.
Did not happen though, correct?
Nope, didn't happen. No, but they did sign Nick. They signed Nick Foles today.
Who did?
Indianapolis to back up Matty Ball game.
Okay. Would you sign Julio Jones?
Yeah, but he's got to be willing to take like a few million a year. He can't be coming in and thinking he's a $20 million receiver anymore, because like he's going to have to come in to like prove he can play in the league still.
Right. Okay.
At the right price, yeah, I would take Julio Jones. But can I tell you something? I'm very, very intrigued about what Nelson Aguilar said. And he said that this year is such a different year for him that if you look at his year twos at all places, his year twos improve because he is entrenched in the playbook and now knows not only where the quarterback wants it, but where he's supposed to be. So he himself has come out and sort of bragged about his second years at certain places as a ball player.
Okay.
And let's just face it, how many years have we heard that it at the Patriots system for wide receivers is one of the hardest systems to grasp? How does a guy like Chad Ochocinco, who's virtually not, let's just say it, kind of a Hall of Fame receiver to a certain extent, comes here and is just useless like tits on a bull?
Yeah, I know. And what's his Reggie Wayne too?
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
So
All right, let's finish it up with the Boston Celtics.
let's move to the Celtics because right now it's in the second. It's a very low scoring game. 20. I see currently it's 27-22. Am I correct?
Well, they're at a commercial break, and I believe you. The
Yep.
last time I looked at the scoreboard, it was 17-17.
It's
But
27-22 currently.
that's I'm not gonna.
With
I don't think
6
that's
minutes,
bad at all.
and that's 6 minutes and 22 seconds left in the second. It's a low scoring
Wow.
game.
Well, I'll just say this: there's a lot, but not a lot to talk about. Like I had said to a lot of people, that this is one thing that basketball I'm nerding out on, because the game 3 loss, the first 2 games, the Heat averaged 42 points in the paint. Their game 3 loss, where we had no Robert Williams, they scored 48 points in the paint.
Yep.
They were up in game 3. The Heat was up by as much as 32 points. And the Celtics lost by 6.
Yep.
So when I examine the stats and you nerd them out, that 6-point loss could have been the Celtics' 4-point win when you think about it.
Could have, should
Because
have, would have, though.
if
Now, here's the
Robert
thing.
Williams, listen, and just I just think that myself, that 48 points that they got in the paint that night, if Robert Williams wasn't there, I think they're keeping it at 42. And that's the 6 point, and that's theoretically the 6 points that they had used to beat the Celtics. So when you take away the logistics and statistics, I think when you got at least Robert Williams in there and you could have Smart in there, it's guaranteed 2 wins.
Well, let me just point out something to you right now. Currently, you got Jason Tatum with 4 points, Horford with 3, Robert Williams with 4, Marcus Smart with 2, Jaylen Brown with 3, and what's his face, Derek White with 6. And
White's having a good night.
You get Jason Tatum's 1 for 8. 1 for 8.
He'll come alive, buddy. He'll come alive. He'll come alive.
There's one more thing to point out. They're not winning right now, and Tyler Harrow is not playing tonight.
Yep.
So,
yeah, it's 22-28, 6-22.
This is a game the Celtics have to win, because I'm going to tell you why. They need to finish the series in Boston and give their guys a few days rest before the finals start.
Yep.
Because Golden
State, in a perfect world, I agree with you. Derek White just and won. So right now we got potentially have a 25-29 ball game, and I'm just gonna say it. I just think the Celtics struggling in the first half. As long as they don't have a third quarter like they had 2 nights ago, this is anybody's ball game. But I agree.
2 nights ago they were phenomenal.
Yes.
They blew them out of the water.
Oh, I'm sorry. During game 3.
During
game 3, they had a shitty third quarter.
Yep.
So what I believe right now is, I do believe that this is important that the Celtics get this win. But then again, they've already proven that they could win here. So I think coming back here for a game 7, as much as I don't want to, I would call it anybody's ball game if they had to come back here for game 7. All I know is Jaylen Brown is struggling right now, and now he just pushed down Jimmy Butler and got a foul.
Well, that's my whole point. Is the problem with this team is they can't. They're playing with fire. They're playing with fire right now. This team needs to win this game and finish it here because you're gonna get Golden State, and Golden State's gonna be rested. And
that they are. And Golden State, what happened the last time the Celtics locked up with Golden State in the regular season? Do you know?
I know the Celtics won, right?
And you do know that that's when Marcus Smart fell on Stephen Curry's ankle, and they called it a cheap play. And yeah, I get it. But what I'm saying is I think that's motivational tactic for Golden State myself.
Oh, I agree.
Like, they're going to be motivated. They're coming for your ass.
Oh, and I think
because I guarantee there's people on that team that, even though I watched that play a million times, there was nothing cheap about what Marcus Smart did to Curry. But there's definitely guys on that team that don't believe that.
Oh, you're going up against Draymond Green, of course.
And I'm telling you, I'm gonna love to look at what a hard foul might come.
Listen,
old school basketball.
It's almost it's a 3-game series, but it's almost a must-win game for the Celtics because you want to come back to Boston with the advantage.
I would love to come back to Boston 3-2, win in Boston, and then have that extra couple days. Would love to have it. I'm not disagreeing.
Here's my concern too.
But I'm not concerned if the Celtics don't win tonight, because right now this series has gone Heat 1, Celtics 1, Heat 1, Celtics 1.
You got to break that, because if it keeps going that way, guess who loses?
Game 7, Game 7, you ultimately lose. I get,
Here's the thing too. The Celtics have proven that they can turn it on and just light up this team. Why can't they do it consistently? And that is my concern. They're not doing it consistently. They should outclass this team. I don't care that the Heat were in first place. The Celtics are a better team overall.
I think you're seeing the effects of Tatum and Brown having a very long season. I think Tatum plays through pain. That's why I will not knock Jason Tatum for that, because he was commended today by Felger and Maz, who don't give out, they don't really give out those type of compliments. And they called Jason Tatum. They were like, he's just a guy that gets beat up, and he doesn't complain like a lot of the younger generational players do. So, yeah. And today he came out and he made first team all NBA. Good for him.
Yeah, but you heard how he made it, because Joel Embiid got votes at center and at forward, and it
Yeah.
Regardless, he got it. But I agree. So look, I'm gonna end it there. When we next talk, they're either going to be in the championship or they're going to be golfing like Tom Brady, hitting holes in one.
Yep.
All right.
Or they'll be guest stars on Steph Curry's mini golf.
True. So I do have a question for you, and it's related to sports, but it's one question. I just want a single answer. It's sports entertainment, and it's just been kind of, there's a big issue, and a lot of people talking about it because it is sports entertainment. And we have another show, from Inside the Gorilla Position. But is it a work, or is it legit heat? You know exactly what I'm talking about. What do you think? Simple answer.
Simple answer. There's so much shit written online that at this point right now, I don't know what to believe. I don't know if Sasha legitimately dragged Naomi into it. I don't know if Naomi's contract is really coming up in 3 months. I don't know about this, that, the other. I just know this, that no matter what any of these talk shows about wrestling talk about and saying that, like, there was one that's posted, you get sick and tired of people pissing in your coffee. Buddy, professional wrestling is not a regular job. And I will reiterate and say, Sasha Banks and Naomi, if this is real, are not new to what goes on in the WWE. They know full well before they even sign that contract that they're going to be asked to do ridiculous fucking things that at time people just ain't going to understand in the normal world. And then again, I'll reiterate, Sasha Banks could be, if she wants, she could have just stayed at home and been content wrestling for Chaotic Wrestling in front of 50 fucking people in the VFW, and she wouldn't be on Star Wars and she wouldn't be on movies. Yep. So without Vince McMahon, Sasha Banks is absolutely nothing to a certain extent, because it would have taken a league like Ring of Honor, or now AEW, to make her stardom. And what if her stardom only started 3 years ago? She wouldn't be as big as she is now. The girl is a millionaire. I'll finish. Naomi's a millionaire. She goes from being a sidekick cheerleader to a guy that's now has his own
women's champion.
Yeah. Who now is a talk show host on Fox political programming. And now she's married to one of the biggest, most traditional families in pro wrestling, as multi-time women's champion. And she got to that's her gimmick with all the glowing.
Of course.
So, like, I don't know what to believe. I just know this. If it's true that you would do this, I think you're spoiled, rotten brats.
Ready?
Yep.
The antennas are going. It's legit. The heat is legit. I'm saying it now. That heat's legit. There's enough smoke to show you there's a fire. And the heat is legit. More on Sasha than it is Naomi. And I feel that she was... I want to say conned into it, because a lot of shit has come out talking about, and again, this kind of goes into fucking up the locker room. We talk about Josh Donaldson, is Sasha's almost toxic. And you know what? In watching her interviews and listening to her, she's a diva. And she's almost, it's almost to the point where she feels that she's privileged.
Yes.
No, I my opinion, I think it's legit heat.
I'm going to be honest with you. I was turned off as a Sasha Banks fan when I watched her Smoking Skull session.
Me too. Me too.
And then I was when I had talked to said friend Bo Douglas, and I told him that I was disappointed in it, and he goes, why? She's told to be in character. There ain't nobody's ever in character.
Nobody's in character on that show, because if that's the case, Seth Rollins and everyone else would have come out as heels. And
he would have been going the whole time. I'm Stone Cold, and would have pounded his feet on the desk like the Dave Chappelle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like Dave Chappelle's skit act with Robert James, bitch.
So. That's it. I just wanted to ask you that question. Reason why I asked, I had a conversation with our friend, Mr. King, the big Yankees fan that he is. I happened to read Forbes' thing, and I think Mike thinks it's more of a work. I really just, it's been a big topic. There's been still a lot of stuff out there. One other thing to talk, just want to throw it out there. I don't know if you were aware, Alexa Bliss, some guy threatened to kill her.
Yeah, I've seen that. And her husband, yep.
Yeah. It's fucked up. And then now there's some scratch out there that Randy Orton's legitimately hurt with a bad back. I don't buy it. I saw it. So, but you know what? That's a topic for our other show that we do when we're talking smack with the boys.
That's right. All right, brother. I think that's a great episode 4 of talking from the cheap seats.
Those no,
I'm Rumble.
Baby.
And he is the
Gazoo.
That is absolutely true. And you know what? We can always talk sports better than
Better
you.
than you.
So, everybody out in Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and this should be, I know I've been saying it for a month. I finally have a person that's going to get this going, and I'm hoping and keeping my fingers crossed and praying to God. All 4 episodes will soon be on Spotify and other podcast avenues for all of you to enjoy. So, if anybody's out there, join our YouTube page and watch us live. Give us some questions. I want to just leave it at this. You leave me a question, and you leave a question for the fans to talk about and think about for the week. Something you want to leave us all to think about, all hit the almighty great Gazoo.
Yes, it has come to the Gazoo. Your question for the week to be answered next. If the Bruins were to remove Bruce Cassidy as their head coach, who would you want to replace him?
Wow.
Answer that next week.
All right. So I'm Rumble.
I'm the Gazoo.
And we'll talk sports next week. Better than you. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you for your support. And as always, the best opener and closer in the business.